Yeah. Bro. Yeah. 5:30 up. 5:30. 5:30 the front desk. Scanner flashes once in the gate. Unlocks with a dry mechanical click. Fresh detergent hangs in the air from towels stacked behind the counter, mixing with old rubber machine or chalk dust. And the faint smell of coffee drifting from a paper cup. Somebody forgot to finish before the rush began. A hoodie drops across the bench like a door. Metal apple zipper wrist straps. Keys disappear into the bag while the speakers wake up. One layer at a time. Low frequencies crawling through the floor before the first full beat finally lands. Nobody announces the start. The room simply changes shape as bodies spread toward platform. Tracks, cables, and turf like they've rehearsed the same opening scene for years. Bars leave storage hooks with hollow steel ringing through the building. A stack of bumper plates tipped sideways, caught inches above the floor before crashing into tomorrow's problem. Chalk bursts open inside both palms, whitening the creases across tied hands until fingerprints disappear beneath the fresh layer, ready to be erased all over again. Rows of treadmills come alive together, belt spinning faster than conversations ever could. A row of tears through his first pull, chain snapping forward with enough force to cut across the music battle. Ropes hammer the ground from the far corner, throwing sharp echoes against painted concrete while a sled drags black rubber pellets across green turf, carving two temporary lines before somebody else's shoes erase them without a second thought. The room never settles into one rhythm. Squat racks breathe heavy through loaded bars. Cable machines whisper back into place. Dumbbells collide with rubber flooring in uneven patterns that somehow fit together better than silence ever could. A timer vibrates against the bench. The screen lights up. Nobody reaches for it. Rest expires by itself. A bottle rolls underneath the platform after catching the edge of someone's heel. It spins once, twice, then disappears beneath another rack. When nobody bothers chasing it, the lift continues exactly where it paused. Elbows lock, knees drive. The bar rises, clean enough to leave the collars rattling long after it's safely back on the platform.
Outside, traffic lights finally switch from blinking yellow to full morning sequence. Inside, the room has already been wide awake long enough to forget what quiet sounded like. Card swipes, door shuts, space climbs. Hands tighten, the broom doesn't wait for perfect timing. It rewards whoever moves first. Before sunrise, carry past sunset, no bar restraint. No rented discipline, walk in, ordinary. Walk out, rewritten. The whiteboard beside the turf still carries yesterday's workout. Half erased by somebody's sleeve instead of an eraser. Numbers overlap, bold numbers. Circles become question marks. Arrows point toward exercises nobody bothers reading because everyone already knows where they're headed. The writing phase, the work never does. A jump rope catches the front of a shoe and snaps against the floor. One quiet laugh, two quick resets. The third attempt slices cleanly through the air without missing another turn. Across the room, fresh 45 slide onto a bar with the heavy metallic ring. Impossible to mistake, followed by the sharp click. The collar's locking everything into place before the first pull even begins. Heat settles inside the building, now windows fog along the edges. Hands push warm air from rack to rack while damp shirts cling tighter across shoulders already carrying fresh chalk streaks. Somebody peels athletic tape away one strip at a time, drops it into an overflowing trash can, wraps fresh layers without looking down and walks straight back to the platform before the last piece finishes, sticking to the floor. Phones continue lighting up across benches. Nobody answers. Water bottles empty. Shakers replace them. A cleaning towel catches a streak across the mirror, leaving one clear path through fingerprints that return almost immediately as another pair of hands steadies itself before a lift. Progress disappears the same way it's built. Little by little, then all at once when somebody looks back months later, the front door opens, cool air spills inside. One group heads home, another walks in carrying gym bags over tied shoulders, trading places without exchanging names. The music never stopped, the room never empty. It simply kept making space for the next person, willing to earn it. Clock says 6, but the city's still dragging its feet. Storefront shutters half open, delivery van squeezing through narrow lanes while my shoes keep stealing pieces of pavement beat for the traffic remembers how to breathe. Breath leaves quick, comes back quick, a heartbeat climbing in perfect time with another stretch of empty sidewalk, refusing to stay empty for long. Glass reflects movement instead of faces, green lights flip, crosswalks clear. Steam rolls out from a bakery loading fresh racks before sunrise. Customers even know they're hungry. I cut between steel poles, hop up, puddle without breaking stride. Shoulder brushing cold brick as another block disappears behind me like it never happened. Music pushes harder, legs answer faster. The gap between both keeps shrinking. A cyclist flashes past with coffee balanced in one hand. Courier backpack bouncing against his spine while tires hiss across damp asphalt. He takes a corner wide, I stay inside the
the line, stealing distance with smaller steps that never look dramatic until the buildings start arriving sooner than expected. Morning belongs to people waking up. This hour belongs to motion. Elevator doors open somewhere above street level. Train brakes scream beneath the bridge. Newspaper bundle slam against concrete outside a convenience store. Somebody yawns behind a taxi window. Somebody else finishes the night's final shift. All of it keeps moving in different directions while my route keeps cutting straight through the middle. The watch vibrates. Ignore traffic thickens. Ignore the red light catches every car in sight. Footsteps don't stop. Street after street, block after block. Breathing finds the beat finds speed.
Red line post, feet don't bargain. Rope keeps unfolding. I keep taking it, no finish, take no victory lap.
Only another skyline getting closer before the last one fades. An intersection locks up with morning traffic. Buses leaning in the wide turns while brake lights ripple through 4 lanes like falling dominoes. I slip past the outside edge, cut behind the delivery car, catch the crossing signal on its final seconds, and hear the countdown disappear behind me before the next dry lands. Construction crews roll open chain link gates. Air compressors wake the block with a deep mechanical growl. Orange vests scatter across some finished concrete. Forklifts reverse with sharp warning tones. Sparks fall from fresh steel somewhere overhead, and the whole street sounds like another machine finding operating temperature. The pace stretches farther than comfort plan for. Cows tighten, shoulders stay loose, arms swing lower. Breathing sharpens in a shorter burst that fit neatly between footsteps. Instead of fighting against them, glass towers begin catching sunlight one floor at a time until the skyline turns gold without anybody stopping long enough to notice. A fountain throws cold mist across the path. Tiny drops cling to both sleeves before disappearing into rising body heat. Pigeons burst upward from the curb after the first footstep cuts through the flock, circling what's above the avenue before vanishing between buildings already swallowing the morning crowd. The final calm arrives where the rope ends upward beneath an old railway bridge. Fresh paint marks the asphalt. Tire tracks cross yesterday's rain. Shoes bite into the incline, rhythm refusing to scatter even as the hill keeps asking harder questions. With every meter gain, the summit isn't marked.
No banner, no countdown.
Only the city spread wide beneath the bridge. Engines humming below, trains rushing overhead, and another breath pulled deep enough to carry the whole trip back down. The whistle cuts through the air before anybody earns the right to move 8 lanes. Fresh paint, white lines stretching farther than the eye wants to measure. Spikes scrape against the track as athletes rock forward, shoulders loose, fingers barely touching the surface. Each breath shorter than the one before, because the body already knows what comes after silence. A jacket lands beside the rail, stopwatch ready, clipboard tucked under one arm. Someone rolls both ankles across the red surface while another runner bounces in place, shaking out nervous energy that won't survive the first 20 meters anyway. The sound arrives first, not the gun, the heartbeat. It fills the space behind both ears until every tiny movement grows louder than the crowd on the opposite side of the fence. Wind brushes across the back of my neck, a paper cup tumbles along the infield. 2 pigeons lift off together, startled by nothing anyone else noticed. Then the crack, 8 bodies explode forward. Rubber tears beneath spikes, arms drive, head stay low. The stagger disappears with every stride until the curve starts pulling everyone toward the same piece of track. A shoulder edges ahead, another answers immediately. Feet landing with machine-like precision while the finish line stays hidden behind the bend, refusing to reveal how far away it really is. No one looks sideways, there's nothing useful there. Set, hold, the curve keeps hiding the answer. Legs, ride it anyway. False start, reset, same lane, different heartbeat. No borrow finish, no easy split. The clock remembers everything. The back straight opens all at once, sunlight spilling across lane markers that looked almost gray a minute ago. Spikes bite deeper now, each step throwing tiny pieces of black rubber backward while the infield flashes past in broken pieces. High jump, mad stack, turtles, water bottles lined against the fence. Coaches already shouting numbers, nobody has enough air left to answer. One runner fades, another finds another gear. The pack stretches into a line that wasn't there. Coming out of the bend, shoulder stay quiet, eyes locked, forward hands stop fighting the rhythm and finally begin following it. The finish arch grows larger with every stride, though distance keeps playing tricks, pulling it closer 1 second, then pushing it away the next. A guts cuts across the final straight, tugging at jersey, scattering lane cards across the edge of the track before an official catches them with the heel of a shoe without taking his eyes off the race. 40 meters, the sound changes, breathing disappears beneath pounding footsteps. 20 faces tighten, 10 everything left inside the body arrives at once. No speech, no celebration waiting, just one last drive through the line before momentum finally gives permission to slow down. The clock freezes, numbers appear, nobody argues. The track already made its decision.
Run hell. Yeah.
Warehouse doors roll up before sunrise reaches the loading dock. Forklifts reverse through narrow lanes with warning beats bouncing off concrete walls while steel racks disappear in the shadows. 3 stories high, pallets slam onto the floor. Shrink wrap tears apart, clipboards change hands. Somebody clocks it with a badge swipe and keeps walking before the machine finishes making its confirmation sound.
Work, gloves tighten.
Safety glasses catch fluorescent light. The first cart rattles across cracked concrete, carrying enough weight to make every expansion joint answer back. Overhead cranes drift along rust-colored rails, chains hanging perfectly still until the hook catches another load. Sparks spill across a welding curtain and bright orange bursts vanishing before they reach the ground.
Compressed air hisses from somewhere behind stacked containers.
Hydraulic presses punch downward with steady rhythm. Steel drums roll past painted safety lines while fresh shipments disappear deeper into the building, one bay at a time. The whole place moves without asking anyone to speed up. It already has its own pace.
A scanner chirps, a printer spits out another label.
Take gun, snap shut.
Box cutters fold away.
Nobody watches the clock. The next task arrives before the last pallet reaches the rack.
Forks rise, chains pull, steel answers, steel. Nobody slows the line.
Shift change, hands trade places. The work never clocks out,
only the names do.
Shift change, pressure stays. The floor remembers every pair of boots. The overhead crane glides across the ceiling with a low mechanical groan, stopping above a fresh stack of steel beams before the hook drops through open air. Gloves tighten around guide ropes, boots shuffle across yellow safety lines, and a load heavy enough to bend light through heat. Haze begins floating toward the next station as quietly as a passing cloud.
Grinding wheels throw bright orange sparks against worn concrete, bouncing beneath welding tables before fading into smoke. Air compressors kick back to life with a violent cough. Impact guns hammer lug after lug into place, and somewhere behind the next row of machines a pallet collapses, scattering wooden boards across the aisle before 2 workers rebuild the stack without wasting a sentence. A digital display rolls over to the next production target. Nobody applauds, barcode scanners flash green. Shipping labels peel away from back and paper stretch. Wrap tightens around another finished load until the plastic seems under tension. The dock doors open, morning pours inside. Cold air sweeps through the building, carrying diesel exhaust, reversing alarms and the steady rumble of trailers easing toward another bay. One truck pulls away, loaded to the roof, while another backs into the exact space it left behind, keeping the rhythm alive without leaving so much as a minute between departures. Lunch whistles, machines don't care. Break rooms fill, conveyor belts keep moving. Fresh boots step onto the floor before tired ones have completely crossed the exit gate, and the warehouse swallows another shift the same way it swallowed the last, without slowing, without announcing, without asking whether anyone's ready. Steel keeps moving, so does the line. So does the line.
Yeah. Rain taps against the windshield before the engine even cools down. The parking lot reflects every street light like broken glass. Puddles stretching across faded white lines while wipers drag. One last sweep across the front window. A gym bag drops onto wet asphalt. Zipper half open, towel hanging out the side as cold air cuts through the jacket before the front door ever comes into view. Automatic doors breathe warm air across soaked sleeves. Water slips from the hood onto polished towel, disappearing beneath passing shoes. Headed in every direction. Someone folds an umbrella beside the lockers. Someone else shakes rain from both hands before wrapping fresh straps around tired wrists. Outside, feels miles away. The second rubber flooring replaces concrete. Shoes squeak across the hallway. Lockers slam shut. Steam escapes from the shower room. The smell of coffee fades beneath chalk, iron and warm rubber. The weather stayed outside, the work didn't. Ellipticals begin tracing smooth circles while robbers bite into the silence with sharp metallic pulls. Kettlebells settle back onto the floor, one heavy swing at a time. Medicine balls strike padded walls with deep hollow echoes. And a sprint sled leaves 2 dark tracks across fresh turf before the next pair of shoes wipes them away. A soaked jacket hangs from a hook beside the entrance. By the time it dries, the session is already over. Rain stopped, the floor stayed warm. The speakers climbed louder, the pace followed. Storm outside, fire inside. Yeah, cold streets, hot lungs. Yeah, walk through weather. Yeah, leave with momentum. The windows blur from rising heat, turning the parking lot into streaks of red brake lights and passing headlights that melt together every time another car rolls by. Water keeps dripping from the entrance mat, spreading into shallow footprints before disappearing beneath hundreds of steps, crossing the same path without ever matching the same rhythm. A treadmill reaches full speed, belt humming beneath quick feet, while the display counts distance faster than the city wakes nearby. An assault bike rattles against the rubber flooring, handlebars driving forward with each burst into the cooling fan. Throws warm air back into a face already soaked from the effort across the turf. Sandbags collapse against waiting shoulders, bounce once, then disappear toward the far wall where medicine balls are already striking padded targets with hollow echoes. The music shifts, nobody notices what he's do. Cadence changes without discussion, lifting the whole room into another gear as if somebody quietly turned the world half a step faster. Shoes leave damp outlines across black floor and fresh chalk dust floats through narrow beams of light, and condensation slides down the inside of the glass while the storm keeps trying to reclaim the building from outside. The front door slide open again, another wave of rain blows through the entrance. Someone arrives already soaked, someone leaves wrapped in steam. The room accepts both without changing its rhythm, carrying the same pulse from the first rep until the last locker clicks shut, long after the clouds have drifted somewhere else. Yeah. Hey, The basketball court is empty, except for a single speaker balance on the backpack near the baseline. Music spilling across polished hardwood before sunrise reaches the windows. Fresh tape marks still shine from last night's game. Loose nets sway gently each time the air conditioner kicks on, and the ball rolls slowly toward midcourt until one shoe stops it without looking down. The first dribble wakes the room. Echo, 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 echo. The first dribble wakes the room. Echo, a crossover snaps low enough to kiss the floor. Shoulder dropping with the ball before bursting in the opposite direction. Rubber squeals beneath quick cuts. Palms kiss the leather on the rise, and the rim answers with a clean metallic rattle after the first shot finds nothing but net. The rebound hits once, twice. Chest pad, sprint, corner, wing, baseline. Every lane tells a different story depending on how fast the feet arrive. Sweat darkens the free throw line with countless shoes are planted before exploding toward the basket. Folding chairs stay stacked against the wall. Scoreboards remain dark and empty bleachers watch another morning unfold without applause. The court doesn't ask who's playing, it really rewards whoever keeps moving. Ball returns, feet reset, breath catches. The floor keeps calling. Catch, explode, blow, recover, cover, turn, drive, repeat, beat until the whistle means something, 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 something. Sunlight finally reaches the far sideline, sliding across polished hardwood, one stripe at a time, while fresh footprints fade behind another sprint. The ball leaves my hands, kisses the glass a little too hard, circles the rim once, then drops clean through before the net settles back into place. No crowd, no scoreboard, just the sound every shooter recognizes without needing a look. The next possession starts before the first one finishes. A loose ball skips toward the corner, one long step, fingertips reach, save it inches before the boundary. Momentum throws my shoulder into the wall pad, shoes lose traction for half a heartbeat. Then the court opens again before balance is completely returned. A whistle cuts through the gym, teams rotate, water bottles trade hands, fresh shows replace tired ones. The pace refuses to disappear, defense slides left, recovery sprint, close the gap, hands high, cut off the lane before the pass ever leaves the fingertips. The ball swings around the perimeter, searching for daylight, bouncing from one side of the floor to the other until somebody finally commits. One sharp fake pulls two defenders across the paint, opening a window barely wide enough for a drive that lasts less than 2 seconds before the rim shakes above everyone's head. Back, cut this jersey's cling heavier than it did an hour ago. Take peels away from aching fingers. The speaker near the baseline keeps pounding through another track while the last rebound rolls slowly towards center court. Nobody rushes to pick it up. Everybody already knows the next run starts the second it stops. Hey. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the assault bike owns the loudest corner of the room long before anybody climbs on it with fan blades resting perfectly still while fresh batteries blink inside the interval timer mounted on the wall. 3, 2, 1. The first drive slams both handles forward and the silence disappears beneath the burst of wind that wasn't there a second earlier. The monitor climbs faster than comfort expected. Numbers jump, legs answer the chain, never ask permission. The coach walks past carrying a clipboard covered in sweat marks instead of notes. Somebody drops onto the rower beside me, catches the rhythm after 2 uneven pulls, then disappears behind a steady roar. Filling both machines, air rushes across my face with every drive, drying yesterday's chalk, still trapped beneath my fingernails. Across the turf a sled drags fresh grooves through black rubber pellets before another pair of shoes wipes them away. Kettlebell swinging perfect arcs beside stacked plyo boxes, medicine balls strike padded walls with deep echoes in the room begin sounding less like a gym than an engine room climbing toward full power. The timer flashes red, nobody stops, recovery starts while the pedals are still turning. A towel catches sweat before it reaches the floor. The next interval is already counting down. Timer resets. Fan slows. Nobody moves. 3, 2, 1. Red zone. No pause. Push through. Stay sharp. Round after round. Second after second. The screen counts down. The body counts up. The fan suddenly turns into a wall of air blasting straight through a shirt already soaked from the last interval while the display races upward faster than the lungs want to admit. Calories flash by, watts climb, cadence refuses to settle, fingers tighten around the moving handles as the whole frame rocks beneath another violent burst. A whistle cuts across the room, half the class steps off, the other half steps in. Fresh shoes hit the pedals before the previous rider's heartbeat has a chance to settle. Sweat still dripping from the grips as someone wipes them once with a towel and drives straight back into another countdown. Battle ropes explode against the rubber flooring like crashing waves. Medicine balls ricochet off padded walls. A sled reaches the end of the turf and spins back without wasting a second. Each station chasing the next until the entire room feels connected by one enormous pulse instead of separate workouts. The clock drops under 30 seconds. Conversations disappear, faces tighten, shoulders burn, legs refuse every shortcut. The mind quietly offers the final push or rise without warning. Breathing loses rhythm, vision narrows. The fan screams louder, numbers climb anyway. Zero finally appears, nobody celebrates. The monitor resets, someone already reaches for the handlebars. The next interval starts before the sweat is time to dry. Zone. Steel chain rattles across the turf before the sled even moves. Links dragging crooked lines through black rubber pellets while fresh tire marks cross yesterday's tracks without asking who made them first. Hands settle low against cold metal upright. Shoes dig into the surface and the whistle slices through the warehouse-sized room just as the first drive throws the whole frame forward. Resistance answers instantly. The sled doesn't glide, it argues. Each step steals another inch from the floor while the plates stacked on both rails refuse to forgive. Lazy footwork, air leaves in short bursts. Shoulders stay locked, hips keep driving, and the noise behind me disappears beneath the scrape of steel grinding over textured rubber. Across the lane, another sled heads the opposite direction, passing close enough to trade. Flying pellets without either athlete looking sideways. Battle ropes crash somewhere behind the rigs. A row of ski erg snaps downward in perfect rhythm. Chalk hangs briefly beneath the lights before vanishing into another pair of hands wrapped around thick rope, waiting to climb. A coach flips the hourglass time. A golden sand begins falling. Nobody checks how much remains. The lane keeps getting shorter. The work keeps getting heavier. Grip, drive, don't drift, finish the lane. Finish the lane. Push into the floor, gives way. Dig until the legs answer back. Heavy doesn't stop the run. Heavy changes how it's earned. The sled reaches the end mark worker within the force to slam both uprights against the stop block. Metal ringing through the training hall before the plate stop. Vibrating hands release for barely your breath. Straps get pulled tighter around both wrists. Then the frame turns around and points back toward the opposite wall, waiting exactly where it started. Rubber pellets scatter beneath every stride, bouncing into neighboring lanes where another athlete drags a weighted rope hand over hand. Forearms burning long before the knot reaches the finish cone. Close by, a tire flips onto its edge with a deep hollow boom, rolling half a turn before crashing flat again. Dust lips, shoes pivot, the next repetition begins before the sound is finished echoing. The timer rolls under 20 seconds. Nobody needs reminding, faces hard and forward shortens. The sled feels twice as heavy without adding another plate, forcing smaller steps, lower hips, and a stronger drive through the ground. Instead of chasing speed, the finish line doesn't move, the body does. A whistle finally breaks across the room. Free stop, breathing doesn't hand stay, resting on the uprights while the floor slowly stops shaking beneath. Tied legs, sweat drops from the edge of the sled onto black turf, disappearing into rubber, already carrying marks from hundreds of sessions that look different but demanded the same answer. The lane clears, fresh shoes step forward, another pair of hands finds the handles. Steel slides back into motion before silence has a chance to settle. Finish the lane. The climbing wall stands silent and the first harness clicks shut. Nylon straps pulled tight against the waist while chalk settles across fingertips, already searching for the opening hole. Auto belays hang motionless from the ceiling, ropes drifting slightly in the air conditioning before the first grip wakes the entire lane. Blue hole, left hand, right foot, weight shifts, the floor disappears a little farther with every reach. A heel presses against texture resin, hips stay close to the wall, fingertips curl around edges, polished smooth by thousands of climbs that all started from the same mat. Someone below calls a route number, another climber drops safely to the floor with a soft rush of the belay, catching the descent and clips back in without looking anywhere else. A route bends across an overhang, forearms tighten, breather shortens, the next whole waist just outside comfortable reach. A quick glance, one decision, fingers leave the wall for half a heartbeat before catching rough stone again. Music pulses through ceiling speakers while shoes squeak against fiberglass volumes. Chalk clouds drift beneath bright lights and clipped carabiners knock softly together whenever another climber swings free after missing a move. Nobody races upward, the wall decides the pace. Chalk fades, grip stays, the wall climbs higher, so does the root. Breathe the hold, trust the reach, miss the move, take it back. Stone doesn't hurry, neither do steady hands. A heel hook catches the volume just before momentum slips away, hips swing inward, fingertips release one edge and settle onto another barely wider than a coin. The wall changes color halfway up, bright panels giving way to rough gray sections, where chalk marks point to solutions that work for someone else but refuse to guarantee anything today. A climber drops onto the crash mat beside the lane with a heavy thump. Laughs once, brushes white dust from both palms, then studies the route from the ground instead of blaming the wall. Two lanes over quick draws tap softly against each other while ropes glide through belay devices with a steady hiss, feeding up with one pull at a time. Halfway through the overhang, forearms begin asking questions that fresh muscles never hear. Fingers uncurl one at a time before wrapping tighter around the next crimp. Shoes smear against smooth fiberglass, searching for friction where none seems willing to appear. The route rewards patience for exactly one move and demands commitment before doubt has enough time to settle. The final sequence hides above the last volume. Left hand reaches, right foot presses, weight floats for a split second. The finished jug catches both hands with a solid hollow clap that echoes across the climbing hall. The rope tightens, feet leave the wall. The descent begins facing the route that refused every shortcut on the way up. Back on the mat, chalk dust, fingers in the air a little longer than the climb itself. A new climber clips in. The wall keeps every unfinished conversation. Yeah. The turnstile clicks behind me before the station finishes waking up. Fluorescent lights humming above empty platforms where yesterday's footsteps have already been replaced by fresh ones. Escalators, cherry silent lines, though the circus train door still shut with a warning tone. And the first departure cuts through the tunnel hard enough to shake dust loose from concrete that hasn't seen daylight in decades. A backpack settles across one shoulder, laces tighten, breath steadies. The city starts moving long before the sun agrees. Street crossings flash white, delivery scooters weave through buses. Coffee steam escapes, paper cups clutch between hurried conversations. The van is the second traffic changes. Nobody owns the pace, everybody gets pulled into it. A staircase rises beneath the overpass, handrails cold. Footsteps multiply, the climb steals air without asking, then hands it back. One landed later, just long enough to reach for another flight. Trains pass overhead, vibrating steel beams above the sidewalk, while loose bolts shatter softly inside the bridge, blending into a rhythm that feels older than the building surrounding it. Neon signs fade as daylight wins up arguments. Storefront shutters climb, rolling doors crash up. Port forklifts begin crossing warehouse entrances beyond the intersection. The entire district switches on piece by piece, and somewhere inside all that movement, my pace quietly becomes part of the signal. Signal lock. Route selected. No detours. Keep the pace alive. Ghost frequency. Running underneath the noise. City breathing, I'm already inside the current. Ghost frequency. That never disappears. You don't hear it, you do become it. Rush hour finally spills across every intersection. Buses folding around tight corners while bicycles thread impossible gaps between mirrors and delivery vans. Crosswalk signals blink the last seconds. Strangers surge forward from every direction. Shoulders brush backs collide, footsteps overlap until separate rhythms fuse into one enormous pulse flowing through the streets. A freight train rolls above the overpass, wheels hammering steel joints with perfect repetition. Storefront speakers leak different songs onto the sidewalk. Construction crews straight shot of measurements between concrete columns. Coffee grinders war behind open cafe windows, and somewhere beneath all that noise, a quieter rhythm refuses to disappear. Shoes strike pavement, breathing answers. Traffic lights change, stride doesn't an narrow alley, cause behind the main road walls painted over so many times. The old colors keep forcing their way back through fresh coats. Rainwater gathers beside broken curves, reflecting off its towers that seem taller from the ground than they ever do through glass. Air rushes between buildings, catching loose jackets and newspaper pages before disappearing toward the river. The bridge approaches, steel cables stretch overhead. Morning sunlight catches every line at once. A train crosses above, the whole structure vibrates for 3 long seconds. That vibration travels through the handrail, through the concrete, through the souls, until the pace stops feeling borrowed from the body. The city found its rhythm long before sunrise. I finally caught it. Get the swimming pool. The swimming pool. The swimming pool hasn't opened to the public yet. Lane ropes drift gently beneath the surface while fluorescent lights shimmer across water, still smooth enough to reflect the ceiling without breaking apart. Lifeguard chairs to empty, kickboards stacked in uneven towers. Pace clock frozen at the top of the hour into the first dive. There's a clean circle through the silence. Cold water closes over both shoulders. Everything outside disappears. Bubbles race past my ears. One pull, one kick. The lane stretches longer than it looked from the deck. Hands split the surface, fingertips catch, elbows rise. Hips following one clean line before another breath steals a quick look at bright white tiles sliding by beneath the goggles. The turmoil arrives without warning. Feet plant against ceramic body coils, then launches back the way it came while the wake chases itself toward floating lane markers. The coach scribbles something onto a clipboard. The page turned. Nobody asked what changed. Stopwatch buttons click in short bursts from the far side of the pool. Water answers with another splash. Steam hangs low above the surface, drifting toward tall windows where sunrise slowly pushes pale orange across the glass. Each swimmer climbs out, squeezes water from both sleeves, wraps a towel across tired shoulders, and another body slips into the same lane before the ripples have completely settled. The pool never holds still. Neither does the morning. Lane clears. Water settles. The clock starts again. Go! Cut the surface. Keep the drag behind. Long stroke. Short yards. Find the rhythm. Hold the line beneath the water. Beneath the water. Water. Beneath the water. Water. Beneath the water. Beneath the water. Beneath the water. Water. The pace clock sweeps waves. Another red hand across the wall, pulling every lane back into motion before the last swimmer has fully caught a breath. Goggles tighten against tired eyes, fingertips curl over the edge, and the next push sends a clean wave racing to the opposite end where blue lane ropes rise and fall with every passing body. Freestyle gives way to butterfly, water erupts, shoulders climb, hips snap through the ceiling lights, fracturing the hundreds of moving pieces each time an arm breaks the surface, disappearing again beneath white foam before the next stroke stitches the lane back together halfway down the pool. A kickboard slips loose, drifting into the lane until a quick hand catches it without breaking rhythm. A coach raises 2 fingers from the deck, calling a split without raising his voice. Somebody misses the wall by a few inches, turns awkwardly, then chases the lost distance before frustration has time to settle. The final set arrives quietly, no announcement, no whistle, only another number written across the whiteboard, waiting beside a towel already soaked through. Legs burn first, and the shoulders and the lungs begin arguing with the pace. The water doesn't care, it keeps pressing against every stroke, exactly the same as it did on the first lap. The finish touch lands flat against cool tile, a sharp breath. Water pours from both sleeves, ripples spread toward the lane rope, bouncing back from the wall into the surface. Looks calm again, the calm never lasts. The next swimmer steps onto the block, the next dive breaks the water. The morning starts over. The water. The water. The water. The swimming pool. The rowing shell rocks gently against the dock before sunrise. Carbon blaze resting across calm water while mist hangs low enough to hide the far shoreline. A coach pushes the bowl away with one hand. The hull slips free without a sound, and 8 seats begin sliding together as the first catch sends ripples spreading across the river that hasn't decided where the morning has started yet. Oarlocks click, legs low, drive, water folds beneath the blaze. The boat gathers speed, one clean stroke at a time, cutting a narrow path to reflections of bridges, warehouses, and apartment lights still glowing from the night before. Steam rises from the surface every time a shell glides in the colder air, wrapping around shoulders before vanishing behind another recovery. A train crosses the bridge upstream, its reflection shatters beneath the wake. A fisherman lifts his line just enough to let the shell pass. Nobody waves, the rhythm is enough. The coxswain calls a change, seats move faster, handles arrive together. 8 blades enter, 8 blades leave. One mistake travels through the whole boat, one perfect stroke erases it. Blade square, catch clean. River answers, pull together. One shell, 8 shadows. Water breaks, weight stretches. Speed isn't borrowed, it's shared. The current bends gently beneath the second bridge, pressing against the hull from the port side before sliding away into open water. Sunlight finally slips over the riverbank, turning every ripple into broken pieces of silver, while droplets fly from each blade, hanging in the air for a heartbeat before falling back into the same river that refuses to remember them. The stroke rate climbs 28, 30, 30, 32. Seas travel farther with every drive wheel, someone beneath the rowers while the shell rises just enough to feel lighter than the water. Carrying it, the coxswain leans forward, voice cutting through wind instead of volume, steering the boat between 2 channel markers without interrupting the rhythm for a single stroke. A cargo barge drifts along the opposite bank, its weight reaches late. The shell rolls once, hands recover, balance returns before the next catch. Nobody glances sideways, the line ahead tells the whole story. Boathouses begin opening the wide steel doors, fresh crew shoulder, long shells toward floating docks. Footsteps echo across where the timber carbon holes slide into the river one after another room until quiet water becomes a moving grid of narrow wakes crossing without touching. The finished buoy appears where the river widens, legs fire, back swings, handles drive home. 8 blades leave the water together, feather of the surface before dropping clean into one final catch that sends a shell surging through the line with barely a splash. Momentum carries the boat another 100 meters. No brakes, no engine, only the sound of water slipping past the hull. Growing quieter with every meter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, 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 yeah.
The ski urge waits beneath the robe of industrial lights. Straps hanging perfectly still until both hands wrap around the handles and the monitor wakes with a sharp electronic beat. Cold air drifts through the loading door, left half open, carrying the smell of wet pavement inside while the countdown flashes across the screen. 3, 2, 1, the cord snap downward. Legs try first, hands follow. The flywheel answers with a deep rushing sound that grows heavier each second, pulling warm air across tied shoulders while numbers climb faster than the eyes bother reading the coach wheels. Fresh bumper plates across the floor, rubber squilling against polished concrete before disappearing behind stacked rigs. Nearby, rings sway gently after the last set. Sandbags lean against the wall, boxes wait for the next jump. Nobody rushes between stations. The timer decides when movement changes. Another round begins before the pulses settle from the last one. Shoes leave dark marks across black flooring, chalk print spread across the handles. Ref turns visible in the cold draft, drifting through the open doorway. Outside feels motionless. Inside, every machine is already speaking its own language. Handle drops, chain, same screen, resets.
Dead airlock.
Break the seal, cold machine, hot lungs. Power transfers, nothing stays still.
Dead airlock.
Break the seal, cold machine, hot lungs. Power transfers, nothing stays still. The display rolls into the final interval without ceremony. Digits climbing across the screen while the flywheel gathers another layer of momentum. Hands sweep down past the knees, hips snap open, heels drive through the platform, and the return glides forward just long enough to steal half a breath before the next stroke tears it away again. Wake again, wake again, wake again. A barbell lands somewhere behind the rig, steel echoes once silence disappears. Ski erg cords whip downward beside me, rowers answer from the opposite wall. Assault bikes throw warm air across the island, battle ropes hammer black rubber until the whole room feels connected by vibration instead of sound. Separate stations, shared pulse. A coach wipes yesterday's numbers from the whiteboard with one fast pass of a towel. Fresh rounds replace them, no speech, no countdown. Everyone already knows where to stand. The fan above the entrance rattles against loose bolts, pushing cold air across damp shoulders before body heat wins the argument again. Condensation creeps along the loading door windows, turning the parking lot outside and the blurred headlights and moving shadows that never quite come into focus. Focus. The final effort doesn't arrive all at once. Grip changes first, breathing follows, vision narrows. The monitor keeps asking for the same output while the body quietly starts negotiating with itself. The answer never comes from the screen. It comes from another pull, then another, then another, then another, then another, then another. The timer reaches 0. Nobody rushes for the exit. Handles settle back into place. The flywheel keeps spinning for a few quiet seconds, slowly giving the room its silence back. The obstacle course is quiet for exactly 3 seconds before the first whistle tears across the field. Cargo nets sway in the morning wind. Rope ladders slap against steel frames, and rows of wooden walls cast long shadows over fresh gravel, waiting for the first pair of shoes to throw it into the air. Hands grab rough rope, boots leave dirt, momentum decides the route. A balance beam flexes under fast footsteps before dropping into a trench carved deep enough to swallow both knees. Mud splashes across shins, palms catch wet timber, and one clean vault sends the body over the next barrier before the heartbeat has time to settle. Monkey bars rattle overhead, grip shifts, swing, release, catch. The final bar bends slightly beneath tired fingers before the landing rolls straight into another sprint. Sand sprays behind each stride while hanging tigers twist from the impact. The shoulders forcing narrow gaps that look wider from a distance. No lane markers, no mirrors, no polished floor. Only the chorus waiting to find a first hesitation. Grip changes, doubt changes, don't stop moving, find the opening, static drift, forward pressure, no clean path, make one, steel, mud, concrete, keep the pace alive. A suspended bridge swings harder with every step, steel cables groaning overhead while loose wooden planks refuse to stay level long enough for comfortable footing. Weight shifts through the hips instead of the ankle, shoulder stay square, hands brush the guide rope only long enough to steal balance before the next stride takes it away again. A cargo net climbs almost straight into the sky, soaked from the night's rain, fingers dig through wet, not shoes, search for purchase, droplets fall past my elbows and burst across the dirt where another group is already charging toward the first wall. Commons echo across the field from 3 different directions, mixing with the sound of boots hitting gravel and chains, striking steel gates that never stay open for long. The rope descent burns through both palms despite the gloves. Boots touch the ground, running in the route catapult sharply into a tunnel barely high enough to crawl. Elbows scrape packed earth dust fills the air. Light disappears for a few seconds before the exit opens into another stretch of daylight, and another obstacle already waiting in the distance. One final wall blocks the finish lane. Hands reach high, knee drives the top edge, catches weight, rolls over. The landing hits hard enough to shake loose another cloud of dirt before momentum carries straight into the final sprint. Orange cones blurred together, the finish banner grows wider. Volunteers clear the lane, the timing sensor flashes once as the final stride breaks through. Mud dries, dust settles, the course stays exactly where it is. Waiting for the next pair of footsteps. Waiting for the next pair of footsteps.
The stadium lights switch off one row at a time, leaving only the emergency lamps glowing beneath the concrete stands. Wind rolls through empty seats, carrying yesterday's announcements into silence, while a single medicine ball waits beside the first step of the grandstand. The climb starts without a signal. 1 step, 3, 5. The stairs rise higher than they look from the parking lot. Concrete edges worn smooth by years of spikes. Boots, running shoes, and rain. Hands brush the rail, only long enough to catch balance before swinging free again. Knees driving upward while the rows of seats fall farther beneath each lander. At the top, the city opens wide. Headlights drift through distant intersections. A freight train slides across the horizon. Its horn arrives seconds after the lights. No pause, the descent begins immediately. Footsteps hammer through the stairwell beneath the stands, echoes tracing each stride until the final step throws the body back onto the track where another climb already waits across the field. Breath settles into rhythm. The stadium keeps its silence. The legs don't. One flight, no slowdown. Turn, climb again. Vector, shadow. Rise. Drop, reset. Height changes. The pace doesn't. A whistle echoes beneath the upper deck just as another sprint cuts across the infield toward the stairwell. Shoes strike the first concrete step before breathing that's completely settled, carrying fresh momentum into a climb that feels steeper every time the handrail changes direction. Rows of empty seats slide past on the left, steel guardrails flash by on the right. Section numbers disappear behind each landing while fluorescent exit signs pull the eyes upward toward another level that somehow looks farther away than it did from below. The top platform opens in the cold morning wind. Jacket sleeves snap once, a loose banner ripples above the press box. Far below, lane lines wrap around the curve like white ribbons waiting for the next interval to arrive. The descent demands a different rhythm. Foot placement short, shoulders stay quiet. Gravity keeps asking for more speed than control is willing to give. Concrete answers every landing with a hollow crack that races through the stairwell before fading beneath another climb already beginning from the bottom. A maintenance cart rolls slowly along the service tunnel. Sprinklers wake across the infield. Scoreboards remain dark. The stadium hasn't opened. Training already has one final ascent. 2 steps at a time. The last landing appears, the rail ends, the view widens. Another breath fills the lungs, and the legs turn back toward the stairs before the silence can catch up. The velodrome hums beneath bright white lights. Polished timber curving upward until the banking disappears into the ceiling. Carbon frames lean against the rail. Tire pumps hiss across the infield, and helmets line the benches while riders clip one shoe into the pedal before pushing silently toward the blue line. The first lap feels weightless. Chain tight, cadence rising. No wasted movement. Section wheels slice through still air with the low rushing sound. Smoke disappearing into perfect circles as the banking carries speed through every corner without asking for brakes. A rider drops from the upper line, slipping into formation just close enough to hear another free hub clicking beside the shoulder before accelerating out of the bend. Officials watch from a center. Lap guards flip, a bell hangs ready above the finish line. Nobody looks toward it yet. The rhythm belongs to the pedals. Legs spin faster, shoulders stay quiet. Every corner returns to the same place at a completely different speed. Hold the wheel, trust the line. The speed keeps building. Stay committed. Signal cascade.
corner to corner. No wasted motion, only clean acceleration. The baseline stretches into a single moving ribbon, every front wheel floating inches behind the next. While carbon frames hum beneath constant pressure, nobody reaches for the brake. Speed comes from timing, from reading tiny shifts through shoulders, hips, elbows, and pedals. Long before the bike changes direction, the banking rises, gravity leans sideways, the racing line tightens, the rider slips high through turn 3, dropping back to the black measurement line with enough precision to thread a gap barely wider than a handlebar. Wing crashes against the helmet vents, jersey snap sharply across the back, and deep carbon rims answer each acceleration with a low mechanical roar that fills the entire velodrome. The lap board slips 6, 5, 4. The formation begins to stretch, one rider lifting the pace from the front while the rest decide in silence whether to follow. Immediately await one more corner, nobody speaks, the chain says enough. Pedals blur beneath, steady legs, the cadence climbs, the corners arrive sooner, the straights disappear faster. Every lap feels another fraction of hesitation, into instinct replaces calculation completely. The bell rings, one lap remaining, bodies rise slightly from the saddle. The final bend throws the whole group to the home straight, wheels tracking the same invisible line at impossible speed. Before one lap surge tears the formation apart, the finish stripe flashes beneath the tires, momentum carries every bike halfway around another lap. No one stops instantly, speed leaves in stages, the wheels spin quietly long after the race is over. This fencing hall waits. Fencing hall. The fencing hall wakes with a sharp metallic ring of blades touching for the first time. Mass lined across wooden benches, white jackets hanging from open lockers, while scoring machines blink quietly against the far wall, waiting for the first exchange. A glove tightens, mass drops, the world narrows behind black mesh. One salute, distance disappears, footwork begins speaking before steel ever does advance. Retreat, half step lunge, rubber soles whisper across polished strips. Each movement measured to the centimeter while the opponent keeps drifting just beyond comfortable reach. No wild swings, no wasted motion. The smallest opening carries more weight than the biggest attack. A blade flicks toward the shoulder, parry, riposte, the scoring box flashes. Red silence returns before the light fades along the next strip. Another bout unfolds at a completely different rhythm. Coaches leaning forward without raising their voices. Referees watching fingertips instead of faces. Every exchange ending almost as quickly as it began. The clock continues, the strip stays the same. The distance changes every second. Mask down, line set, read the distance, move first, move first. Parallel impact. One opening, one decision, one light, no wasted reach, no second signal. No second signal. The referee raises a hand and the strip falls silent for half a heartbeat before another exchange bursts into motion. Front foot glides forward, rear heel barely leaves the floor. Both blades searching through empty space until steel finds steel with a sharp crack that ricochets across the hall. Pressure builds without contact, a feint draws the guard high. The answer comes late, a disengage slips beneath the blade, wrist turning just enough to change the line before the point lands clean against a target. The scoring box flashes green on one side, red on the other, then drops back into darkness while both fences return to the unguard line without carrying a single emotion into the next point. The bout stretches deeper, distance grows shorter, reactions become quieter. The loudest movement belongs to the feet, rubber soles brushing the strip in quick control bursts while coaches stay motionless behind the boundary, reading shoulders instead of blades, timing instead of force. The challenge is called, the replay monitor flickers alive, frames crawl forward, one touch, one frame, the decision stands. Max lower again before the announcement has completely faded. Final point, neither blade rushes both weight, a shoulder twitches, weight shifts, the attack launches from a space no wider than a heartbeat. Steel collides, the scoring light ignites, the strip falls quiet, the result stays behind. The next bout is already walking onto the piss. The gymnastics rings, hang perfectly still beneath the ceiling. Leather straps stretching into darkness while thick landing mats cover every inch below. Chop bowl sit untouched beside the platform, quiet enough to hear the ventilation system rolling through steel beams high above the training floor. Palms disappear into white powder, dust rises, grip settles. The first pull lifts both feet clear of the ground before momentum has a chance to build itself. Shoulders lock, elbows stay long. The rings drift apart, only give fraction. Demand of precision instead of strength, balance instead of speed. Foam pits wait beyond the bars, parallel bars echo with another routine. A pommel horse spins beneath controlled hands. No station borrows movement from the next. Every event speaks a different language. Coaches notes stay inside the weathered notebook, balanced against the water bottle with pages curled from years of chalk and sweat. No shouting, no countdown, just a quiet nod before another attempt begins. Exactly where the last one slipped away. The rings answer every mistake immediately. Your wrist rotates too late. The straps begin to sway. The correction has to happen before the movement grows larger than control. The whole room slows down, not because time changed, but because precision demands it. Hands steady, core tight, don't chase balance, create it. Fracture vector, pressure travels, small corrections, perfect control, hold the center, own the motion. The coach knows one ring by less than an inch, then steps away without another word. That single adjustment changes everything. The straps stop forgiving rush movement. Shoulders have to settle deeper. Wrists rotate sooner, and every transition demands cleaner time than the attempt before. A support hold locks into place. The rings tremble. The body refuses to. Breathing slows without losing tension. Toes point, hips stay square. The smallest shake climbs through the strap, circles overhead, then disappears before reaching the ceiling. Across the hall, spring floors answer another landing with a soft rebound. A vault table echoes beneath the clean block. Parallel bars sing briefly after a release catches perfectly between both rails. Different events unfold side by side, each one chasing precision through a completely different language. Chalk gathers inside the creases of both palms. Fresh tape tightens around the wrist. The next routine starts before the previous heartbeat is settled. Strength burns the position, control keeps it. The final transition arrives high above the mat, shoulders open, rings turn outward. The body settles into complete stillness for a single measured breath before gravity finally takes permission back. The landing absorbs the impact, one quiet step, no stumble. Straps continue swaying overhead long after the movement has already ended. The whistle doesn't matter, the countdown doesn't matter, the warm up at the 10 minutes to go. Now it's output, hand slam against the push, lead legs it first, everything else follows. Rubber falls beneath the shoes, the frame refuses to roll until the first violent step tears it forward. Plates rattling loud enough to drown out the music, trying to keep up. Turf disappears beneath short powerful strides, hips driving through resistance and tether around it, while every meter steals another layer of comfort that wasn't invited to finish the session anyway. Flip, flip. The handles change size, no wasted motion, back the other direction. Breathing loses symmetry before the body loses speed. Someone attacks battle rough beside the lane, waves crashing across black rubber in perfect opposition of the athlete. Drags a chain, thick enough to leave bright scratches across the sled rail, sparks flashing. Once where steel kisses steel before vanishing beneath another surge. No mirrors, no cameras, no spectators. The lane doesn't remember names, it remembers pressure. The final cone rushes closer, hands release. The sled keeps rolling another half meter under its own weight before stopping exactly where the next round begins.
Reset, reload, drive, don't negotiate.
Terminal velocity, pressure stays alive.
Forward, forward, no reverse, no rescue, rescue. No reverse.
No rescue.
No reverse.
The chain tears across the turf with a hard metallic scream. Every link carving fresh scars through the rubber while the sled refuses to glide without another violent step. Cows fire first, hips answer instantly. Shoulders lock into the frame and the lane begins disappearing. One explosive stride at a time instead of one careful meter. The whistle blows for somebody else not here. Grip shifts without slowing hands, trade positions while the plates keep moving. Still in balance for half a heartbeat before the feet reclaim it. A weighted vest slams against the ribs with every impact. Breathing, breaking into shorter pieces that barely survive long enough to become the next breath. Sandbags crash,
Chains whip.
medicine balls explode against reinforced walls. Battle ropes fold into black waves before snapping flat against the floor again. The whole room sounds less like a gym and more like machinery reaching maximum output. Every station feeding the next until separate workouts blur into one continuous surge of movement. The final lane arrives faster than expected. No finish line painted, only one cone, one turn. The sled pivots. The return begins before the pulses settle. Grip burns deeper, shoes bite harder. The frame feels heavier without adding a single plate to body circuits for an easier rhythm. The lane refuses to offer one. The last push empties everything into the floor. The sled crosses the marker.
Chains collapse.
Plates keep rattling, breathing fills the space where the noise used to be before silence finishes about.
Someone else grabs the handles.
Every floor carried weight. Every lane carry footsteps. Every wall learned another impact before daylight ever found the windows. Rubber, remember shoes, still remembered hands. Water, remembered every stroke that disappeared the second it was made. The stadium gave back echoes. The river carried away hesitation. Concrete stairwell, slow breath without keeping any of it. The climbing wall erased weak decisions, one hold at a time. The strip measured distance, the track measured commitment. The bike measured rhythm, the rings measured control. None of them cared about yesterday. The lights switched on, the doors open. The first movement always belonged to whoever arrived before excuses finished talking. Cities changed, weather changed, machines changed, routes changed, pressure never changed. It kept asking the same question: how much of yourself can you leave here before walking back outside? No final whistle, no curtain falls. The pace decides. Follow it, follow it, follow it, follow it. Even horizon. Cross the limit. Lead it out, carry the force. No rewind, no rescue. Only momentum. Forge. Forge. Yeah. Forge. The first step never disappeared. It kept traveling, collecting weight from every floor, every lane, every river, every wall that demanded something before giving anything back. The track handed over speed. The pool demanded patience. The climbing wall traded certainty for precision. The velodrome rewarded trust measured in millimeters instead of meters. Steel answered steel. Water answered motion. Concrete answered impact. The body answered all of them. The warehouse light switched on before sunrise. The stadium emptied long before sunset. The city kept replacing faces while the work kept replacing limits, leaving fresh fingerprints on bars, ropes, handlebars, rings and rails, until every place felt connected by one invisible current instead of separate destinations. A whistle echo somewhere far behind. Nobody turned around. The route had already moved forward. The final stretch never looked different from the first one. Only the person crossing it had changed. Doors open, cold air returned. Street lights surrendered to daylight. Traffic swallowed another morning. Training never stayed inside those walls. It traveled through every handshake, every staircase, every intersection. Every mile carried on tired legs that refused to forget what they had already earned. The next session isn't waiting. It's already moving.